a golden afternoon, and I remember having the familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the sunrise.
On Friday night.
Close these a little, but not a lot.
A little water here.
A little water? Whiskey.
What for you first?
I think we're slowly figuring out how to do Friday night podcasts effectively.
I'm gonna be super chill because I have 3 tacos.
Starting to get a little,
I'm already 1 glass of whiskey in, so
okay. I gotta catch up then.
yeah, gotta catch up.
Cheers.
Happy Friday night podcast. Happy Friday night podcast.
Mm. It's so smooth. George Dickel, Tennessee Bottled and Bond.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Not lie.
Yeah, I would put this up there. I haven't sampled a ton of whiskey. It's just straight up regular whiskey. Mostly just Scotch, but this one's good.
We only have 3 Tennessee whiskeys right now. But
Piece of shit. I'm leaving.
we did a blind taste test, Audrey and I, on Friday, I guess. And it was the George Dickel and the Jack London, which you've had, and then just regular Jack Daniels. And I thought this was the best.
Yeah, this is really
I
good.
thought it was the best. I mean, the Jack London was close, was very close. I think it's just like, what kind of,
Yeah.
because Jack has a very distinct flavor. I did have a hard time picking between, or like figuring out which one was which.
Yeah. This is about $60.
I think it's like under 50.
Wow. Pretty good.
Really good deal.
Yeah.
Yep. Good value for a whiskey, for sure. But anyways, what were we talking about?
What time does the ice cream place close? Because I need to have ice cream tonight. I'm just thinking about it on the whole drive.
Should we hit pause real quick?
I really want ice cream.
Hold on to the right now. This is like
I'm hoping
breaking the...
I'm hoping Coneflower at least is open till 10.
I think this place is open until 10 too.
I think so.
They both are.
Yeah.
We might jump you for
Like
like
when we drift over there to snaggle some ice cream.
little ice cream walk.
Yeah.
I like that.
Little Dundee ice cream walk.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Because you can't beat it. I'm gonna be chewing into the microphone.
Yeah, I'm gonna lay off the popcorn so I'm not. Great episode, guys. Lots of slurping up and chewing. For us audio listeners, can't do it. Yeah, for people listening, we have a little bowl of popcorn and some whiskey and then water.
Yep.
So sorry for the popcorn eating.
I will try to eat away from the mic, but
I will forget and just like obnoxiously chew into it.
so we're coming into this episode. I essentially just went manic rage on Matt for
You did?
45 minutes.
Pre-show. Manic Rage pre-show.
Yeah. So
It was intense. You did prep me a little bit for it though earlier in the pre-show call. Pre-call. Pre-show. Yeah.
pre-show call.
Pre-show. Yeah. Pre-show call. I don't know.
I've just got a lot of different like things that I'm working on right now. I think
It's good to share in the mania.
Yeah.
You, Alex. Welcome.
Matt's
trying to get out of my mania.
Matt's desperately trying to. We're a couple days away from it.
I think so. A couple really dedicated days getting that damn studio done and getting rid of some of the stuff.
No. So you just donating, or
No. I mean,
you have to wait for it to sell?
yeah. I have to list a bunch of stuff on eBay. Just this is all camera stuff, so it's not like it takes up a ton of space in the studio, but it's kind of been accumulating while I've been in my manic state. Really since I don't know. It's been a couple months, and it's been abrupt. It's been halted here and there because traveling home to Chicago throughout July. My friend's dad passed away, my grandma passed away. So there's been a lot of interruptions and trying to get a couple videos out, but I'm just sort of like, you just need to focus on getting across the finish line because I'm starting to have those feelings of like, okay, you've really enjoyed collecting all this stuff and experimenting and overhauling the studio and all this stuff. Like, I'm dying to just get back to making videos now.
Yeah.
So,
How long has it been? I feel like you've been.
I mean, really,
Although I've been spending more time at your coffee shop than you have.
I know.
Recently.
that's the thing. Like, you know, really, and we're not going to get into this because we've covered this in several episodes. But it's really, you know, it has been a slow ramp up from when photography with film and these digicams and stuff starting a second channel, and all of that climaxed with this realization that from getting the camcorders, collecting some vinyl albums and getting the stereo and all this stuff, that I really want to overhaul my studio, the back part of my studio, because it symbolizes to me an old life, a life that's not my reality anymore.
Yeah.
A life where that room stored a lot of film gear and Pelican cases because I needed to be ready to go and jump on a plane and help someone on a shoot. Or when I was running my production company with client work, having all that stuff packed and ready to go so that if the call came,
the conveyor belt was there. We've used it several times.
Yeah. And it's just not being used for that anymore. But then, again, VHS, vinyl, the stereo system, the camcorders, the projects that I have for my channel with VHS and aperture and film scan, all the stuff that I'm trying to do, I'm like, the space is causing a problem.
Yeah.
It's getting in the way now. So I need to
more,
overhaul it so that the process is smooth.
Yeah.
Using it as a tool to make the stuff that I want
It's
to make.
one of my favorite things probably in the world, getting rid of stuff
Yeah.
that's not being, I mean, the silly.
Maggie wants a
Some popcorn. I think I'm a little bit more anal about it than most people,
Yeah.
because I really try to clear out everything that's not doesn't have like direct utility. But God, it's one of my favorite things. Big donation pile. I like put a bunch of stuff up and sell it.
Yes. I really get satisfaction on that too. And I think, you know, looking at all the typewriters I have, which are, you know, it's getting close to 20.
Yeah.
So they're not all out, they're not all cleaned and ready to go. But this experimentation with the typewriters, I am very much learning the typewriters I love aesthetically and like to use, the typewriters that I love function-wise,
Yeah.
and like the aesthetics of them, the design of them. And then the typewriters, I don't really have any feelings about. It was fun to pay $10 for this Tower Commander, clean it all up, get it beautiful, use it for a couple of letters or notes or whatever. And I got that SM9 this past week, which was,
That'll be a keeper, I think.
oh yeah, that's never going. It is literally a mint condition.
Yeah.
Now that I cleaned it, it is just a stunner. So, you know, I that experimentation phase has gotten me to the point now where I'm looking at these surplus typewriters and going, I'm ready to move these on. Now, I'm not going to just take them to a thrift store. I don't know, there's a store here in Omaha called Fundell Supply Company. They expressed some interest in having one of the typewriters in the shop. I'm happy to just have it there as decoration. If somebody wanted to buy it, you know, if it's $50, they can just keep the money. If it's something more, then we can talk. But just stuff like that. Or even like at Josh's place, Modern Mayhem. Like, hey, dude, do you want like 3 typewriters in here that I throw a price tag on and my Venmo? And like, is that cool?
Yeah. 100%.
And have stuff find people that will appreciate that.
Yeah, that are looking for that kind of thing.
So maybe it's a pop-up shop, maybe it's a consignment thing for some of these items that are harder to ship. But I'll definitely be continuing with the studio, building some shelving, getting it to where, because I do like a full studio. You know, my room as a kid, you know, stuff was on display. It was very, very dense. But to me, organized and pleasing for me.
Yeah.
Energy-wise, aesthetically, all that. So I'm glad that you are even if it's not showing outwardly
mine's
like my
more-
mania.
mine's more inward for sure.
And mine certainly, there's been mania in mine with, we have a podcast. I've got a photography channel. The YouTube channel was Final Cut, then a VHS thing, then an Aperture thing, and like kind of all bouncing around all over the place. And I certainly have a ton of ideas, kind of like what you experienced this week, what you put out there. Oh, I want to write an article about this. I have a video idea for this. Like, I want to do a photo project about this. I want to make a zine, do this, and that stuff's going like a mile a minute. So it's like ready to end the mania with the studio overhaul and just focus on the work.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I mean, we talked about it, just getting back from, I got back from that trip a couple weeks ago, and it was just very just like, I wasn't happy with where my work was and where everything was kind of sitting. Yeah, I mean, it's, okay, that's up to you then to, if you want to change that, that's up to you.
Yeah.
And I think, just working through that has been a really good experience.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I've definitely had thoughts, probably for the last couple of months, where I will say to myself, I'm ready to see some work from Alex.
Yeah.
Even if it's not stuff that you put out there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
And that's not like you're doing something wrong or Alex, I expect more from you. It's nothing like that at all. I think got a little used to your YouTube channel and seeing your creativity and your voice and all that. And I think I was just missing it.
Yeah.
Now, I get
This is taking a good.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this isn't like work, but in a sense, I feel like what compelled me so much to put stuff on YouTube was just this getting this thing off my chest almost feeling of, I've got to work through this. And this format, the podcast format, just us having conversations and then releasing them out there kind of
takes care of that.
Scratches that itch a little bit, which is exciting because I think the project that's come from that is more personal than any other thing that I've put together, or like everything that I've put together prior is more like, I'm going to do this thing because I don't know how to break it down, but this scratched an itch that I was trying to serve, or like a compulsion that I was trying to take care of. And it wasn't good for like me putting videos on YouTube, but it kind of became clear like, oh yeah, and like I said, I'll always put videos on there at some point or another.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, I'll sit down one day and like the footage or something. Oh, I'm gonna edit this into something.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but it is gonna be more experimental, I guess. Or just like only doing more interesting like video projects and putting them out. I mean, we had several ideas for documentaries, and I don't want to like abandon that.
Sure.
That just never got going. And part of that's just on me. I think that was part of the realization I had, is I'm just sitting here and not. You get so caught up in being busy, but then also just caught up in being like present for certain things. So like for me, it's work, and then I was just, I don't know, I was just in a bad state of mind, I guess, where I'm more focused on, I don't know, I just sit in here, during the day and like gotta be on call at all times. So it just trained on me. I didn't feel like doing anything. I felt like the work I was doing, I wasn't getting any kind of pleasure from, and I don't know. Jobs can do that, but work can do that.
I mean, I've had it just because I'll sit there and realize like you've been sitting at a computer for 10 hours a day for 3 months straight. And although I'm happy that I'm making something that's for myself, for my channel, there's still an element of sort of, there's a day job ingredient to
Yeah.
that, a component to that, where it's like, this is my bread and butter. I got to do this to earn a living, and I enjoy it. But it's not, especially with the introduction of film cameras and
Yeah.
other things. It's like, well, I really want to do this photo
Yeah.
project or a documentary with you or whatever. And there's a sense of the amount of work that goes into undertaking that and how much it would carve out of my quote unquote day job.
Yeah.
It creates a sense of conflict that makes me go, well, it's easier to just keep doing it.
It's easier, exactly. And I think like with me, it just took. I had to reach a breaking point. I mean, obviously, like the last year or so has been tough, and I don't really like put stuff out there, But it's been a tough year, and I think that paired with just like, I don't know. There's just like I was content. But at the same time, like screaming inside, like, oh, you've got to get something going. And it's not like I wasn't doing anything. I was doing plenty. I was exploring all kinds of new things.
You were absorbing a lot, too.
Absorbing a ton. And it is funny in that there was the Rick Rubin did the interview the interview.
Yeah, right.
So it was like he cut together an interview of him interviewing Jim Morrison of The Doors.
Yeah.
And obviously this wasn't a real interview, but it was a real interview that I suppose it was a real interview that Jim Morrison did.
Yeah.
I don't think it was AI. But, and if it was, it did a really good
I can't
job.
imagine Rick doing that. I could see him almost as being like a form of work for him.
Yeah, I think it was.
Project.
Well, because what I thought was conceptually interesting about it is, like, oh, you're taking these answers and then you're coming up with a question that would get you to the answers in this semi non-obvious way. And it's really good. But what I was gonna say is, he asked him, he's like, "What are you reading a lot?" He's like, "No." "You writing a lot?" "No, not really." You watching movies or what?" He's like, "No." He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Not really anything, honestly." He's like, "I just, there's periods of high creativity, and then there's periods of just absorbing the world." And I think that's something that I have become more used to, happy with doing. But, I think there's some circumstance things that just kind of became apparent. All reflecting. I just think I'm like woke up a little bit. Just like, okay, time to don't sit here and I don't know. I don't like to complain about it. And I think it's easy to sit there and complain about it. And I guess what I found was I'm sitting here and I'm complaining about it. And I'm not doing anything to change my circumstance. Not that any kind of change is guaranteed, but I'm like, you only get one shot at this thing. Everything that you want to try to work through or do or explore, you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. And it's kind of dark, but it's like, I just start thinking about, okay, you can sit here and not do these things, or you could try to, just go for it. And I feel like I have a pretty good handle on my voice and somewhat, and I'm trying to, that's part of what this exercise is, what I'm, trying to recalibrate is getting back to just my voice, my words, my writing, my own thoughts, not somebody else's thoughts that I've, absorbed that I'm,
Or trying to make
regurgitating or whatever, but yeah.
For a client or
Yeah, just like, what is my feeling about this? Not that mine is any more significant, but I think for me doing it every day, it's like you might as well just have your voice in the world rather than trying to be somebody else's voice. And I don't know.
Well,
It's been a really good few weeks though.
yeah.
It's been a really good recalibration. And recalibrations happen, and I understand moments and fades, but I do think it's, I don't know, even like this week I had a day where I was just like, oh man, I'm not really feeling good about anything. Like I just don't feel like there's a point kind of to do anything. And I've kind of trained myself whenever that happens, it's just like a chemical thing.
Yeah.
Like you just got something, you're a little low on whatever today.
Yeah.
And just don't really feed into it too much. Try to just keep moving forward, and then eventually that'll fade. And sometimes all you need is a good night's sleep. Sometimes like when that happens, I'm like, okay, you're probably just tired.
Yeah.
Like really, I don't know, really tangible.
Or you're just, to me, for me, it's been just the natural ebb and flow of not the highs and lows, but the sort of ups and downs, of
It's way too easy to drink.
yeah,
Holy
yes, of life and life making work and life making work for others. And for me, it's always been taking inventory in that, doing a little self audit. What do I want to do about this? And
Yeah.
for me, often it's, well, you're working for yourself. You've got to do something to get something done today. It could start with scribbling notes in a notepad. It could be going out for a photo walk, like something to kind of break that feeling.
Yeah.
And get back into the flow state,
man,
or tap into some inspiration. Just creates that a little bit of that mania that makes me go hard on something.
Yeah. I think part of it, like, I'm walking around the Jocelyn today,
Oh man, I can't wait to go.
and I'm curious about your take on this. I think I know because honestly, you and your behavior has like made me try to pursue this more.
Yeah.
But I was in the Jocelyn and just discussing like when creativity starts to like stagnate
Yeah.
and almost nosedive, and I think creativity as a force is like a lifeblood of like us as humans. I think it's a very important thing. And when we get into like domestic routine,
Yes.
which I like, don't get me wrong, I love my domestic routine.
Me too.
Like honestly, I think that how much I love that is part of like the comfort and the part of like the stagnation that I've experienced.
Yeah.
Is I'm very okay with that, just being that. But when we get into that, it's especially in 2024 when a lot of people work remote. If you're kind of consumed with the domestic routine and you're working remote, then you're never interfacing with new ideas. Maybe you are through like social media and things like that, but I mean, even like I've kind of walled myself off from a lot of that stuff just because it was such a negative, like, it just, I mean, I don't handle the dopamine
Yeah.
of it all very well. So
Right.
I tried to wall myself off from that, and like I really take seriously the concept of not overstimulating with other people's ideas. I think that's important if you're trying to create something that's worth being, worth being looked at. But yeah, I think it's really easy for us to get caught up in a routine, and then you're not taking in any new energy, and then everything eventually starts to stagnate. And the way to break that is to be in the world, to be out in the world,
That's exactly right.
interfacing with different people and new ideas, new opinions. And yes, social media does that, but it's not the same. It's very like, social media takes one aspect of it, but being out there and just like feeling, what it's like just to be in a public setting around people. And, it's a cure for cynicism. It's a cure for, creative stagnation. It just does so much. And I can't overstate, like, how powerful that's been just being in the world more, how powerful a creative force, going to coffee shops more. Yeah. I mean, third, second, whatever, just being out there. Like, I love it here. It's very comfortable in my, in my studio, and we've had a lot of conversations in here.
Yeah, but
But
you're grinding away here all day, every day,
Yeah.
and not venturing out too much on the weekends beyond the norm.
yeah,
Quick farmer's market, quick walk over to the just downtown part of Dundee, all that stuff. But you mentioned too, like a recent trip out of state, coming back with a lot of inspiration. I feel a lot of inspiration, even though there's things that I have to watch out for. Kind of like you talk about with the internet, I talk about with seed sales, the things that I'm doing, thrifting, all that kind of stuff, where it's almost like turning into
good game.
it's like a game, but it's also like this deeper exploration of my own self and seeing how what I'm experiencing now with buying things
Yeah.
rhymes with the trouble I got into at college with buying things when I was bored. No, I'm not buying stuff
But
right
dopamine.
now.
I mean,
Yeah.
dopamine is such a fast and effective cure for that feeling I talked about, where it's just like, man, I feel like there's no. Sometimes you wake up and you're just on a bad chemical day, like your body composition is not 100%,
Right.
and maybe that's spurred on by a life event or whatever, and it's like
Or just random.
random, yeah. Like you can just be going for 3-4 weeks,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, just like, oh man, today's a bad day. And dopamine is highly effective, whether it is through a feed or whether it is through a purchase
Slot machine.
or a casino,
Yeah.
or I mean,
all kinds of
yeah,
opportunities for
Yeah.
that quick hit that gives us a little something.
100%.
A post on Facebook could do it for some people. Pull the lever on the slot machine.
Oh, I mean, any vice. I
Let
mean,
the estate sale this week.
it's gambling, booze, sex, drugs, like anything like that. It's a very effective release mechanism, but it's almost too effective. Like
Yeah.
you gotta be very wary of it, because it can.
Well, and just like we with this podcast, we'll explore. Sometimes these episodes are therapy sessions. Sometimes they are.
This isn't a therapy cap, maybe. I don't know.
A little bit, yeah. But, and this is where work comes in, I sit there and I'm like, I've been doing this for a while. So I've been going to estate sales and just, started out with checking them out for cameras, to, experiment with different cameras, realized I could sell some on eBay, make a little extra money. And that was doing well, so I kind of doubled down on it. Started venturing out and going, well, sometimes I'll come from these estate sales with nothing. So how can I look at some vintage clothing or VCRs or records to try to come away with a little bit of money from every venture? Then it starts pulling you into new places. You're watching YouTube videos about vintage clothing thrifting or vinyl hunting or whatever. I get to a point where I'm like, how do I make work out of this?
Yeah.
Do I take my camera and photograph the estate sales and make a project out of it? The thing that bubbles up for me was I want to write about my experience, both in self-awareness and deploying self-awareness to go, what's happening to you physiologically, chemically, what's happening to you emotionally, spiritually when you go to these places, good, and maybe what our culture perceives of as bad.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of reckless spending, a little this or a little that. Like, I really want to explore all that in an article that takes a deeper look at what my experience was, but then also relating it to
There's more
than
than
an
article in there.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
like,
Who knows what will
Yeah.
come of it? But and this is like the low-hanging fruit stuff. I was buzzed through like the titles. The bad examples are the deadly game of estate sales. Or the 10 things I learned good and bad about vintage clothing. Thrifting. Whatever. Like those kind of catchy articles. I don't certainly. I don't want to end up with that, but I'm thinking about those types of things to find what my angle is.
there's almost like you could almost right at it. Yeah. Like there's something like yeah. I mean, even my mind goes to fiction.
Right.
Straight
Yeah.
to fiction.
Yeah. So I think in a past life,
And I think you already have the ability to kind of tackle that. So I'd love to see you apply it with this topic that is so personal.
Yeah. In a past life, I would have mined this for something related
Yeah.
to screenplays, a film. And I haven't seen anything like that quite yet.
Yeah.
But there's little whispers of something narrative with it. Although right now, like I was saying earlier, jotting stuff in a notebook, and I felt like I accomplished a lot this week, and then you showed me what you did. I was like, oh man.
I was absolute psycho.
Yeah, you went ham on that. But, starting to just like jotting down notes and ideas about an eventual article I'll write about my experience with these estate sales. That I know I'm gonna write it. I'm excited about it. It takes my media publication a little bit of a different direction, and it's just another outlet, creative outlet
Yeah.
for these experiences. And again, going back to what you were saying earlier, day in and day out, we're in the studio, we're doing our work, whether it's for somebody else or for our audience or
Yeah.
whatever. If we just stay in that one mode
Yeah.
for too long, it can really break us. So we
Yeah.
need to travel locally, regionally, nationally, internationally. My Poland trip certainly was a big catalyst
Eye-opener,
for doubling down on some of the things that I've been doing. Little weekend getaways with my family, and this is one of the things you talked about, the domestic routine. I do love it. I love coming back to it when it's new and fresh, and it feels like a nice warm blanket of comfort. But I can't resent it after a while. So going to Lake Okoboji for 3 days and not thinking about the house, doing dishes or cleaning or this project or that thing or whatever.
Well, just like
It's such a
talking
great
about like
restart.
the studio is so comforting,
Yeah.
and like we're in here, we're having a conversation, and it's just we're completely familiar.
Yes.
And it's amazing, but if you spend all of your time in here, it loses that special character, that special quality. And the same goes for anything. You spend too much time, and you're gonna.
Yeah.
I think you should resent. You start to resent it, and not in maybe even a negative sense, but just you become uninterested in it.
I think for us as creatives, as artists, as people who are making things, making work, there's sort of a hierarchy of things we do to no audio. The old audio mixer, you son of a bitch. And low. All right, AI. Let's enhance that flip audio. Now Alex is gonna be.
I'm
really-
heartbroken.
Yeah,
I was amazed. I was just.
it's good.
I really felt like I was getting something off my chest.
Yeah. You're just gonna have to roll with the shit audio. You're gonna have to throw it through some AI, make it work.
I think people overestimate how good AI is at just cleaning something up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised.
maybe we'll try it. That was a good one.
So I was saying like there's like a hierarchy of things we can do, and things that we do that break us out of that stasis. Everything from taking a shower, going for a walk, up to an impulsive road trip, running some errands, go to an estate sale, take a little weekend getaway, jump on a plane somewhere, and just get away from it all. We have to pepper our lives with these things. And I think beyond just that, sort of like a simple weekend getaway, I think we have to try to seek out, for me personally, is what works, is new and uncomfortable experiences.
Yeah.
I really like winging it. I like not knowing what we're going to do, where we're going to stay, how we're going to get there. Maybe I don't unpack all the stuff. Well, this may happen. It might get cold, and I get this, and I get that. Like, how can not having all the tools that allow me to be comfortable put me in a place where greater inspiration?
I think of it like primal mode, right?
Yeah.
You just like unload from everything, and suddenly you're just back to like
Right.
problem solving at the
Yeah.
most, basic level.
And we build ourselves, we build all this comfort around ourselves. And while I do admire it at times and how sort of luxurious it is,
Yeah.
there's times where it bothers me. I'm like, well, I it just popped in my head. But I remember my wife and I took a trip to New Orleans. And,
Yeah.
and, I don't do well with heat and humidity.
Yeah.
At least I think I don't. And I'm like, God, it's going to be so hot.
It's gonna be rough.
Oh, God. And sure it was. Like, oh, it's like 98 degrees, 100% humidity. I was like, you know what? Like in a moment, I just chose.
Yeah.
This is it. Like,
I've got it. That's
and it's just like turned off all that frustration and anxiety, and I'm like, I have a great time.
yeah.
Like,
It's so real though. Like I really want to make the point personally of like embracing chaos.
yes.
Like a little more chaotic energy, I think. Like I'm way too driven toward optimize environments and
Yes.
create. And then whenever it's like some unexpected thing happens, that freak out.
Yep.
And I'm like, throws me off, hijacks me completely.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm reading or I'm watching a great film or like it's the unexpected, it's the chaotic that's just so good.
That's the story.
And I've gotta I think my work needs more of that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there's definitely like a characteristic of like, maybe one of the defining characteristics of what I make is some sense of, but it's funny, I've actually had people tell me my work is highly chaotic,
Yeah.
especially just my photos.
Okay.
And maybe it's just like, that's the only outlet for that. But I need to embrace that a little more. That feeling of like, okay, this isn't as comfortable.
Yeah.
It's the stupid quote I told you. What was it? It's just like, I don't know. I don't want to butcher it.
Just paraphrase it.
Yeah, I gotta figure out. It was 2 words.
Oh yeah.
It's so my mind.
It's okay.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. Let's embrace that you don't know.
Yeah. No, but it's what is it? It's like oh wow. But yeah, no, it's just chaos. I think we think of it as a bad thing, and I think for art, it's a good thing. Sometimes.
Absolutely. And I struggle with it all the time, especially co-managing the household with my wife and
Yeah.
the differences between her and me, my kids, and you do find yourself getting into that domestic routine and building all these systems to keep things as balanced as possible. And when something happens, there's a flat tire, a kid's homesick, whatever, you are clinging to the reality that was.
Yeah.
And I think struggling to figure out how to get back to it when it's gone. It's never
Yeah.
coming back. So your kid's home for the day sick, you have a new reality, get your head around it.
Embrace it.
Embrace
Yeah.
it. Surrender to it. And then enjoy it.
Yeah.
Your kid's home sick. You're not gonna sit at the computer as long. You gotta take care of them, or whatever the deal is. What can surrendering to that open up? What's gonna happen? What connection with your kid or another person or a moment or a thing or whatever? So let those doors stay open instead of shutting everything down because you're just irritated by
Yeah.
convenience of your life being disrupted.
It had been a golden afternoon, and I remember having the familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the sunrise.